Hello, friends. Today we are going to continue learning about the day that Jesus rose from the dead. Remember, we left off with Mary Magdalene, and she had gone to the tomb alone, and while she was there crying, Jesus appeared to her. She didn't recognize that it was him at first, but then she knew that it was truly him and that he had risen from the dead. And so she ran back to tell the other disciples what had happened. And we also know that Peter and John, when they ran to the tomb, and an angel appeared to them and told them that Jesus was alive. So these three ran back and they were telling as many people that they could that Jesus had come back from the grave. But I'm sure that it was very, very hard for people to believe, those who hadn't seen Jesus. I'm sure they were questioning, could this really be? Could Jesus rise from the grave? Or did somebody take his body? We don't know. We just don't know. Well, two of these people who were wondering and questioning what was going on were traveling home. We know that one of these people were named Cleopas, and so probably it was his wife that was traveling with him. And they were walking along the road. It was a 7-mile long road that connected Jerusalem to their hometown of Emmaus. So it was called the Emmaus Road. And as they were talking that day and discussing what perhaps they had heard Mary Magdalene say, or the disciples, all of a sudden there was somebody else walking with them. And this person just appeared. They didn't know who he was. It was Jesus. And he began to talk with them and to question them and to say, "What are you talking about? Why do you look so sad? What is going on?" Well, Cleopas and this other person were amazed that their traveling companion didn't know what they were talking about. Haven't you heard? Haven't you heard about the great prophet who was amidst us, who would talk and tell miracles and teach great things? He was crucified, and now today is the third day, and everyone is saying that perhaps he has risen from the dead, and we're just not sure what to believe. And then as they continued, this man who was walking with them said, "Well, haven't you heard what the scriptures teach? Haven't you read the scriptures?" And he began to tell them how Moses had taught about the Messiah that would come, and how other prophets in the Old Testament prophesied how the Christ would come and how he would have to suffer. Verses in the Old Testament that told about how a spear would pierce his side, and how he would be beaten, and how he would have to suffer, and how he would die, and how he would rise again. As they continued along their way, finally they reached the town. And Jesus was going to continue on his way, but Cleopas and his wife invited Jesus. "Oh, it's been a long journey. Why don't you come to our house and eat with us and rest and stay the night?" And so Jesus went with them, and they prepared a nice meal. Well, when they sat down to eat, Cleopas asked this man, this stranger that was eating with them, who had been traveling with them all day, asked if he would say the blessing for the meal. And so they bowed their heads, and Jesus took the bread and he blessed it, and he thanked God for their meal. And then he broke the bread apart, and he gave some to Cleopas and to his wife. And at that moment, their eyes were opened, and they realized that it was Jesus with them. And at that moment also, Jesus appeared. All of a sudden, he wasn't in the room with them anymore. They were so excited and so amazed. They couldn't believe it. How had they been spending the entire day with Jesus and they hadn't recognized him? But now they knew. They knew that what Mary Magdalene had said was true and what Peter and John had said was true. They were so excited. The Bible says that within an hour, they had gotten their things ready and they turned right back around and they ran back to Jerusalem because they wanted to share the good news with the disciples that they had seen Jesus. What an exciting time for them.